Tried and true in the strategy if opportunity presents itself. Quarterback year one, tackle year two. Will Campbell pairing with Drake May in New England, and all going to be molded in the image of Mike Vrabel. Feels like a Vrabel guy, a couple more of them, rounding out the class in New England. Back to talk Pats and beyond here in the East with the fellas. It's a home run there at number 5, if I'm not mistaken. Four. At number 4 with Will Campbell. You shear up your left side, and there's win in the draft and then win in the press conference. This kid seemed to take care of the latter end of that. Mike, what did you make of the class in totality?
This was, I mean, the Patriots, they had one of the best off seasons I can remember in the last decade. I mean, what they've done to add talent to this roster, and their first 2 picks, Will Campbell, Travion Henderson, A-plus character guys, A-plus effort guys, A-plus talent guys. It's like those 2 have Mike Vrabel written all over it. And then after that, to get Kyle Williams, in my opinion, the best separator in the entire draft class, something that Drake May is going to love because he didn't have any of it last year. In the 3rd round, one of the steals of the draft, and then going down the board, Braden Swinson in the 5th. This guy had much better tape than the 5th. He was actually a top 40 player on my draft board, 60 pressures this past season at LSU, and then he got a name. The kicker, Andres Borregales, one of the biggest legs in the entire draft class. Guy can hit from 70, adding him to New England. Hey, I love this class. It's an A draft for me.
Yeah, we were at the Cam Ward Pro Day. It turned into the Borregales Pro Day. That's how good he was. We'll see how it plays in cold weather, but fun to watch in person, no doubt about it. You guys are golf guys. It's like being on the driving range and seeing John Daly go crazy.
Yeah,
like it felt sort of like that. I'm laughing as I look at what they did here. I gave him an A as well because Will Campbell makes a ton of sense, but they also took 2 interior offensive linemen because they can't not do it. They took 3 as I look at it now. The last 2 years, they refused to draft tackles, so they kept drafting centers and guards. But this feels right, to Mike's point. And sometimes it felt like the Bill Belichick era. They were starting to overcomplicate it down the stretch. And this feels simple, to the point. You're filling needs. Trey Henderson makes so much sense with Ramondre Stevenson now. We talked about Kyle Williams, and last year they whiffed on Ladd McConkey, which I'm still angry about. Joshua Farmer had a fantastic pro day. Not pro day, excuse me. He probably did, but he was great at the Senior Bowl and a great tape in the fall. Had some injury concerns, so that's why he's available here. And Mike talked about Braden Swinson. So this team feels like it's maybe a year away from being a serious contender.
I would also like to timestamp Aurora Borregales.
Well done.
If you hear it elsewhere, you heard it here first, and you will hear it again. I promise that. Let's get to the Jets. Directionless is a word that comes to mind for this recent management of the franchise. You put all your eggs in the Rodgers basket. That doesn't work. Dissension, new head coach. A lot of change. Did enough change here in the class when you take a look at these 7 names they acquired over the last 3 days, Ryan?
Yeah, Membu is where it starts. I loved his tape. Only 20 years old, right tackle. 6'3" at the combine. Mike, he was 6'4" at his pro days. Congratulations for growing that 8th in the match. 34-inch arms. I think he's only going to get better. I know some of our coworkers weren't as high on him as we were. I'm okay with that. You're not going to hit a home run every time, and I think he got that one right. I like Mason Taylor a little bit more than Mike does, but insanely athletic. His dad's Jason Taylor. Isaiah Thomas ran a 4.58. His GPS was in the 4.3s, and I think he played much faster than that. The Aaron Smith pick makes no sense to me just because, while he's the fastest person in the combine, he dropped 10 passes last year. All that said, I still gave him a B-. Malachi Moore, smartest player in this draft class, not a great athlete. A lot of reasons for optimism in terms of the Jets doing something differently with Darren Muji and AG now in charge.
Yeah, I thought it was a solid, if unspectacular draft. I love the Membu pick. I think that's one of the best offensive lines in the NFL right now. Mason Taylor's just like fine. I don't think he's ever going to turn into a top of the NFL tight end, but a guy that Justin Fields can rely on there in the offense. I do love the Isaiah Thomas pick, though. The Florida State cornerback, perfect for Aaron Glenn's defense. He's going to press. He's going to get physical at the line of scrimmage. Him and Sauce Gardner, that's a great press duo.
To your point, they've built quite a curtain, and a young one at that, in front of whoever the quarterback's going to be in the near term, Justin Fields, obviously. We will go to Miami next, and this is an interesting draft. As you look at the names, and I'm taken back to that pick at 37th overall. They come up to give up some compensation to go get the guard out of Arizona. It was Grant to start things off out of Michigan. I can't really feel the pulse on this one. What did you make of the 3 days?
It's a weird draft. I think it's the Miami Dolphins and GM Chris Greer admitting that, like, we're not in a great spot. So they got some future draft capital out of this, but they did go up and trade for Jonah Savinaya. I do think he fits their scheme perfectly, and I love that fit for them. So maybe it costs them a little bit, but for a player like that, I think it's worth it. It's just Kenneth Grant pick. I think it's a reach. I think it felt like they needed a DT, they needed a nose tackle. You're 13th overall, and they're just like, let's get the best nose tackle, not realizing that they could have waited.
Yeah.
I really think they could have waited. It was a day 2 full of nose tackle prospects, and they had to go 1 at 13 overall.
Ryan, I don't want to take you off those at the top, but Quinn Ewers is worth a thought here because he was waiting and waiting and waiting, and eventually it is Miami. He's now in that quarterback room with Tua and Zach Wilson. Is there enough opportunity there for Ewers to justify having come out?
Well, that's a good way to put it, because I was thinking about this. As much as we talked about Shedeur Sanders falling to the 5th, if I told you 2 years ago that Quinn Ewers was going to be a 7th-round pick, you would have said, oh, my gosh, what happened? Yeah. Injuries is what happened to him. And I always go back to the Alabama game in 2022 where he outplayed Bryce Young and Will Anderson Jr. and Dallas Turner and won that game. But since then, the injuries concerns have been real. And in a lot of ways, he's similar to Tua in that he can't stay healthy. He throws with anticipation. He has a bigger arm than Tua when he's healthy, but he's rarely been that in recent years. I love this pick for Mike McDaniel. I feel bad for Quinn Ewers, who fell all the way to the 7th round and nearly 25 picks or so from Mr. Irrelevant. I like this draft a little bit more than Mike, though. I gave it an A. Kenneth Grant, middle first round feels about right for me, and I say that as a Steelers fan who wanted him at 21, and he was long gone. Walter Nolan also went before, so I think there were slim pickings at the top 2.5, 3 defensive linemen, so I understand that on some level. The 7-9 pick I love. They need to get better on the interior on both sides. Jordan Phillips is a really good player, has short arms out of Maryland. He's going to get better. He's still only 20 years old. And the Ollie Gordon pick, it doesn't feel like a Mike McDaniel running back because everyone runs 4.2s. Yeah. He's a little slower, but he'll be between the tackle guy who has a little juice in the open field.
I'll say this about Quinn Ewers. I think falling to 7th is probably the best thing that could have happened to him. He was a guy who was 5-star, #1 overall recruit, hyped up forever, and he didn't really improve over the course of his career at Texas. And it wasn't like the book on him was he'd show up in big games, not show up in other ones. So I think this is a little bit of the NFL saying, hey, you got to lock in. If you're not, on your P's and Q's, you ain't making it in this league. So I think this could light a fire in Quinn Ewers.
Yeah, you can't buy opportunity. He has opportunity now in Miami. I believe it was an $8 million NIL deal. Out in front of him at the collegiate level, he will make somewhere in around $4 million over the next 4 seasons in his slotted draft pick in the 7th. Let's take a look at the Buffalo Bills, because it's let's go Buffalo, and time and again it has been that. They are the new Patriots in the East, the team that you got to knock off if you want to do something, and they got a great piece. I know a guy that pre-draft our Bryant McFadden was high on. I know you guys were high on. The 30th overall pick out of Kentucky, a burner there at the cornerback position. How'd you like that and beyond, Ryan?
A+. And the early part of this draft was Brandon Beane saying to Josh Allen, look, we're going to focus on this defense. You're going to have to carry us offensively for a while, and we'll circle back maybe at the end and get you a guy or two here. And the guy they got first on offense, in the 5th round, Jackson Hawes, the best blocking tight end in this class. So he's not coming in to be Dawson Knox, for example, or Dalton Kincaid. But Maxwell Harrison to the top, first-round talent. I get Devin Witherspoon vibes. He's not quite that electric. He's not a top 5 pick, but he's undersized and plays with an edge. T.J. Sanders and Landon Jackson are going to bolster the defensive line there, and I know Mike isn't as high on those two but we both agree that Deion Walker has a chance at 6'7", 330 to be an absolute dude if he can stay healthy. Jordan Hancock, one of the best players no one talked about on the Ohio State team, had a great end to his season and pro day there. Just pick after pick, they crush it. And Charles Lunt was a top 100 guy for me, the offensive tackle out of UConn. So he adds depth as well along the offensive line.
Personnel, always pertinent, but again, same question we posed to a great team in the Ravens. Who are you going to be when the chips are in the middle? That is an answer we're still waiting on from the Buffalo Bills. Taking a look at your odds, you're going to have a chance again, Buffalo. A big minus number to take the division. Plus 230, excuse me. The Dolphins at 5-1 money, but the Patriots creeping ever closer to that 2nd overall spot, Mike.
The Patriots there.
You like the number on the Pats? 5.5 to 1, maybe a sprinkle. We're thinking sprinkle. Let's take it to Vegas. Ashton Genty's heading there. He's already arrived. See what it means for the offensive attack on the Strip.